Hey guys, welcome to part 3 where I'm going to section this beautiful piece of Damascus up into 2 sections and make 2 knives. If you haven't seen part 1 or 2, you can find them right up here. Otherwise, let's get started. Well, I will be making 2 knives from this bar. I'm only going to be filming one of them. It's just a huge amount of work to film and work on these at the same time. First thing I want to do on the top though is put a little negative bend. So when I put the bevel in, it bends back to its kind of straight form. We're going to do that on the horn with the wood mallet. I'm taking my time because I don't want it to fold over there like that. Steeper than what I want it to be in the finish because it's going to swell out with the beveling. For the tip, start on the bevels. Tip because of the grind I want to do at the ends. It's a little thick. Just squish out the tang a little bit, draw that out. We might have to weld some more on this one too, but got it close enough to where I want it. There we go. Throw that in the kiln. First, I'm going to peel off enough scale to get a light etch, and then we'll base the outside profile of the knife off of where the pattern sits. Over here on the surface grinder, I'm trying to get the spine cleaned up. Everything else that might be a problem is going to grind out. I'll show you. This is really the only piece that's kind of concerning to me right there, just because you know, that's pretty far down for my grind. We're already fairly thin, but gonna take it to the etchant. Looks like we're still good. It's still in there. It's really rough. It's hard to see when it's rough, but we're gonna go ahead and neutralize this and throw some layout fluid on, get us a nice clean looking blade. I think this tip, that's gonna get shortened a little bit. It's kind of got a little weird action to it, but I think we've done good, guys. I think we've done good. The layout somewhat done. I'm going to take a little bit off the tip here, a little bit off the spine. We've got some marks to cut in the tang. A good little outline. Now obviously we don't have enough tang. I'm gonna go ahead and cut a little triangle into this and we will just weld some more on there, somewhere to like this range. We're just gonna take that out of this piece of 1/8 inch angle iron because it's pretty close to our finished dimension. cleaning the lines up. Got a little carried away with the welder there for a second. A nice bit of tang now. I'm gonna go ahead and just mark out the bevels where we want them to be. Got our scribe marks and a center line. So I'm gonna go through and find the high spots on the round wheel here. Not go too deep, and then probably finish it up on a jig since this is so thin. Just sort of using the round wheel to kind of even things out. Got it rigged up on the jig. We're running a 120 grit belt, just kind of chasing these little pits. Getting as close as we can to that line, and then we're going to follow it up with a 400 grit belt to kind of finish it out. Just removing tiny little bits at a time. Nice and slow since we're so thin. I don't think I've ever forged metal down this thin before. Mistakes were made. I accidentally zeroed this out here. My angle was wrong, so I'm just gonna have to go for a reshaping and shave maybe a 1/16 or something off of that to give us a dime's edge on the side there. Next, I'm just dialing everything in by hand with a chainsaw file, which I've already kind of done, and now we're gonna go through with the sandpaper and just get the lines close to where they need to be. Close enough is good for heat treat. While the kiln is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and trim up the tang since I took a little bit off the edge. We need a little bit more there, and just kind of straighten up this backside. We've got the sides pretty well trimmed up. Now I just need to get in there. You can see the shoulders are a little rough. We're going to do that on this file guide right here. These are tungsten carbide, so that will keep my little square file from scratching into it. Just gonna square those up and then we're ready for heat treat. Got some nice shoulders on it. Kiln's sitting at about 1700. We're gonna throw it in there for 10 minutes. The first normalizing cycle. And then cool into still air. Regretting my tong decision right now. Got the kiln up to 1570. The oil's nice and preheated here. We're going to go ahead and quench it, see what happens. Low and straight. Put it in the plates here, just in case we got any warps. No cracks, no nothing that I can see. All right, that's our blade to the kitchen. Wipe off the Parks 50 because my wife just loves that smell burning through the house. And we're going to temper this at 400 for 2 cycles for 1 hour each. The jig is nice and all, but doesn't always do the trick. So going in on the waterfall pot in here, and I'm just kind of trying to even the tip up. You can see that the flat runs a little long on this side compared to this side, so I'm just very carefully easing it in on a 400 grit belt. Just taking off a little bit at a time, all just by feeling. Sort of trying to push that back, get the whole shape refined here. See, I went a little much right there, so I got to kind of take it back to the flat. Pushes the line back up, and so it's just sort of a battle of back and forth. For the fittings on this, I want to do classic bronze, which is 10 parts copper, 1 part tin by weight. I don't have any, so we're going to make some. Put the tin in first into the crucible. And the copper. We will throw our concoction into the forge, get it up to about 2,000 degrees. And we'll anneal it. Got it on the mill, we're going to go ahead and surface it up. Alright, so I've got the layout. My little piece of bronze here, I'm going to use a 1/8 inch by 1/16 inch end mill to just cut in a little slot here. Hopefully we can go all the way through and then just nice clean filing. Well, after a good bit of filing, I've got this nice little channel cut here, which is approximately the size of the tang. Now, I want to just fit the blade up in there, like so, and I'm just going to keep driving it up the tang with a wooden mallet, little by little, and then anneal this socket over and over again until it fits perfect. Making some headway there. It's got a nice little ring to it too. Alright, after about 20 cycles of that, it fits up pretty close. But there are some little raised bits on the bronze here, so I'm going to go ahead and file this flat. I anneal it a couple more times so these shoulders make a slight indent in the surface, and it will be seamless, hopefully. Alright, we've got a nice fit up, as you can see. Got the little notches that just fit up there ever so good. Shwoop! Not so much on the back side, but it's good enough for me. I'm gonna go ahead and fly cut the back end of this, get everything nice and square. A nice little rough cut of black walnut, which is gonna be the handle piece. Alright, the block's all nice and squared up. Hopefully I can drill 2 holes down through this and then kind of just mill it with the drill bit back and forth, and that will allow me to make a channel, and we're just going to seat the blade inside there. What do you get out of that? Nothing? To chop a little bit of the tang off, I think. Alright, let's get messy and seat this. First I'm going to take some of this varathane wax and just put a thin layer over anything that might get epoxy on it. Put some on the guard, especially on the bottom, the top of the wood. Mix up some epoxy. Stir it up. Go ahead and put the guard back on the blade here. All full on the epoxy. Get some little marks on the guard and the handle so I know exactly where it's bound to wind up here. And she goes. All right, it's been about an hour. Let's pull it out. Oh, hopefully. Oh man, whew. It's gonna take some persuading. All right, after a trip on the struggle bus, got it, there it is. We'll let that dry over the weekend. All right, we've got our nice block of wood. I've got some lines scribed here. I'm gonna clean up one edge. This is gonna give it the thickness, at least on one side, and then we'll measure the difference. And that will allow me to find the center. Then we can pop our pinhole through. Now that we've got that on there, there is an even gap between the guard and the handle piece. So what I'm going to do is just scribe a line on both sides. Now I should be able to just lay this on here and match up those lines with the outside, and that will tell me where the tang is sitting, like so, because it would really suck to drill that hole in a spot that's not good. So we're just going to outline the tang. Voila. There's the mark. Looks like it's going to be all good. Let's go ahead and drill that. Got everything squished together here with the clamp. Got everything centered up. I'm going to go through with an 1/8 inch drill bit because when you get into the steel, it sort of gauges the hole out. And I'll drill each one separately with a 3/16. So I'll take the blade out. This way it doesn't mess my holes up. Just punch through all the way to the other side. I think that's in there. Yep, easy peasy. Alright, now we can shave down the final thickness of this, which I think is going to be about 3/4. Let's go ahead and do that on the mill. I'm going to use this little washer to make a nice outline for us to work around on the grinder. Got it up to a nice 600 grit and about the shape that I want. I'm gonna go back through and hand sand later, but first I want to shape the guard. Got my little half circles on there. Let's grind it out. I thought the guard piece was a little boring, so I'm gonna add some little bevels to it to give it kind of an angular bit right down to this center mark that you can see there. I've got it pretty close off of the grinder. You can see I'm a little shy of the mark. I'm gonna go ahead and finish it up with a file, and I decided to leave the center a little bit thicker than them meeting to a point. Here I'm filing, and I'm just gonna stay just shy of my lines there because I know the sandpaper is gonna take a little bit out when we go to smooth this out. We've got some nice little facets or whatever you would call them there. I'm just going to sand them up all the way to 2000 grit. And through the magic of video editing, we arrive. Go ahead and buff it. Alright, so I've hand sanded this down to 600 grit off screen just to save you some pain. I'm using a mix of true oil that has been cut down 30% by mineral spirits. It's just a little too thick to use all on its own. And we're just gonna apply a liberal layer, if I can get the lid off. Come on, come on. It's gonna splash everywhere, I know it. But the key to doing this is doing it while it's wet. So I apply some of the true oil on there. I'm just gonna start from the top and do little circles. And this is just going to add a nice shine to everything, but it's got to be done wet because the sawdust fills in the little pores, which should already be filled. This is just kind of getting the smaller little pieces. And just work my way up through the grits, and I usually stop at about 2500. And we'll just let that sit. I'm gonna give this a quick buff. I don't want to burn off the top layer, so it's just real quick passes. While that guy is drying, it's time to start hand sanding. There's some waving in these lines that need to be trued up. That's going to be done on 600 grit. And we will finish to 800 before maker's mark and etching. A bit of glass cleaner. And as you can imagine, this goes on for quite a long time. So I will see you guys on the other side of it. I've got a nice 1000 grit finish. I'm going to go ahead and buff it. You're not supposed to do that with Damascus because it smears the pores together or puts stuff in there, but I think I've got a nice workaround. Fresh off the chromium oxide on the buffer, nice and shiny. Going to go ahead and wash it down with WD-40 to get rid of all the compound, and then follow that up with acetone to remove the grime from the WD-40. See how we did. Looks successful. Let's take it to the buffer. About ready to etch. The last thing I'm going to do is put on some nail polish onto the little bubble surrounding the maker's mark and the mark itself. This is a UV activated nail polish, so it should be able to edit as we go. No idea how long that takes to cure, but it sure does look cool. I think that tag is dry enough. Let's give it a 10-second etch. Not sure why it's so dark here on the tip. I don't know what that's about. Got a little bit of frog tape with just the edge exposed, just to protect things. I go ahead and set the edges here now on 600 grit. Okay, so the blade is pretty well close down to 0 there. I could cut myself if I pressed on it, but it's not sharp, so we're going to take it to the work sharp and probably run the 2500 grit belt on it. It's ready. Now that everything is ready to put together, I just need a pin, which luckily I have a sprue of 9010 bronze right here. I'm just gonna turn that down. I don't have a lathe, but I've kind of got a neat little plan for that. So first thing, it's got kind of some bulbous pieces on there. Just gonna grind those off. You have to borrow this guy right here. So we got our bearing chucked up in the mill vise with the bit of bronze in there. I'm just going to try to shave it down with this file. Okay, that worked pretty well. We're at 13/64, which is 1/64 over 3/16. little more time consuming than a lathe, I would imagine, but we're making do with what we got. Voila! No good. All right, there we go. So, from doing the true oil finish, it actually makes a little buildup around the rim of the hole here, so that doesn't fit as well. However, we don't want to shove a drill bit that's the same size as this hole in there because it can chip up around the edge. So what I'm going to do is take this smaller drill bit, set it on there, and just give it some spins for quite a while. Last thing I need to do is anneal this pin so it doesn't crack. Alright, I've got a nice little cover over the blade so I don't cut myself. Everything's ready. Let's go ahead and assemble it. Now that everything is nice and dry, I'm just going to take the jeweler's saw and cut the pin down. I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch on both sides. There we go. Go smooth these out on the grinder on a 600 grit belt. Final step here, I'm just going to swage these pins because they're going to be like a little button cap on the top. Going to do that here on the anvil with the ball peen hammer and then polish them up to about the same grit as the guard and we'll be done. Finish up by buffing these little pins up a little bit. Hey guys, the knife's all finished up. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for viewing, and if you would, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the knife. Let's go check it out. All right, make sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one.